Hey guys, what up? It's Jack and welcome back to XDefiant. So there's been, since the last time I posted a video about XDefiant, there's been some info that's coming out. Obviously, the release window that the developers had originally intended has been missed, and for good reason. And we're basically getting a delay of anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. So in other words, the game is going to come out anywhere from the beginning of October to the middle of October. But ultimately, at the end of the day, not only do I see this as not a big deal, I actually see this as a good thing. I think it's a good thing that the game is getting delayed because there's things that are not ready. There's a few more bugs that have to be squashed or a few more things that have to be fixed or whatever the deal is, and the submission process is going to go smoother. And again, I really appreciate Mark Rubin's transparency because a lot of developers out there, whether they are, first-person shooter developers or not, sometimes what they'll do is they will literally just like not communicate with the community in terms of why this or why that. But Mark Rubin, even though he didn't have to, he's doing this whole explanation thing. He's putting his posts up on Twitter or whatnot. So, by the way, I'm always going to call it Twitter. I don't, I'm always going to call it Twitter. So, anyway, back on topic here. So, a lot of people online and through posts and stuff like that on social media are basically saying that they're pretty much done with XDefiant. They're not going to be playing the game. They're leaving. They're just going to play Modern Warfare 3 instead, or they're just going to just play another game instead or whatever. So that's cool and all, but here's the way I like to put it. Now, for those of you guys that have been here long enough, right? You guys know that I like to make food analogies. So I'm going to start this particular conversation with a food analogy. So here we go. Imagine now here is Call of Duty, right? You're going to a restaurant, you may or may not get good service, you're paying for that service, and that's pretty much it, right? There's a chance that you may leave unhappy, or there's a chance that you may leave happy. So either everybody's going to be happy, or everyone is, only half the parties are going to be happy, but you're still going to pay for your meal because that's just how it works, but you're just not as happy, whether it's the service, your server's probably not listening to you, blah, 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 but you're at least paying for the food, right? You may leave your server a bad tip or a no tip because he or she is an asshole or whatever the deal is. But, but at the end of the day, you're still paying for your food because it was okay. You might be happy with the food. You may not be happy with the food, but at the end of the day, that's basically how the cookie crumbles, right? Okay. Now let's get into XDefiant. With XDefiant, you're pretty much guaranteed good service. Right, you're guaranteed better service than you were at that other restaurant. Plus, you don't have to pay for your food. Right? Imagine getting greater service, better quality of pretty much everything, and you don't even have to pay for your food. that's basically how it works. It's like there's no way that you're not going to be happy. Now, with that being said, does that mean it's going to be perfect? No, it doesn't mean it's going to be perfect. There's no such thing as a perfect video game. We know that. But when you look at everything that the developers have been doing in terms of being communicative with us, and on top of that, the fact that you've got a much smaller team of developers, right? You got a much smaller team of developers working on XDefiant than you do Call of Duty. But that doesn't necessarily mean that XDefiant is going to be a worse game. For instance, you can have a smaller restaurant, for instance, versus a bigger one. But that doesn't automatically mean that the smaller restaurant is a worse restaurant, right? It's all about the quality of what you are getting. Sometimes less is more. I'm sure some of you guys out there might know of a small place that you guys go to, or a friend of yours might go to. That's a small place, but the food is amazing, and you go there every so often, and it's kind of like a tradition, and you absolutely love it, right? You're in love with the place. Despite the fact that it's small or whatnot, you wish it was bigger because you want the restaurant to be even more successful and get even more money and yada, yada, yada. But it's a small place. They give good food. You go there very often. You recommend it to everybody. Okay, great. That's basically XDefiant. With Call of Duty, one thing about Call of Duty is we can't really ignore historic facts. And some people might even be wondering, well, the thing is, it's also been apparent that obviously Call of Duty has blocked XDefiant over on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. So a lot of people have been saying that they feel threatened by XDefiant. It's like, okay, whether or not that's true, it's like, okay, whatever. But the thing is, there might be a chance. Some people are reading between the lines, and they might say, you know what? There might be a chance that Modern Warfare 3 will be a good game because of this. I mean, look at all the news that they've brought out. I mean, they basically said we're gonna have a full-on mini-map the way we used to have it, and we're gonna have this, we're gonna have that. They're bringing this back, they're bringing that back. I mean, sure, they're charging $70 for it, but man, they're bringing it back. which makes me laugh because again, a lot of these things should have been taken out in the first place, but whatever. It might have been something that was strategically planned by Activision. It's like, you know what we're going to do? We're going to take all these things out, and guess what? We're going to bring them back when we need it the most. I mean, rumor has it still that Modern Warfare, a true Modern Warfare 2 remastered has been made already, at least to a certain extent. Obviously, the maps were remastered, so that was been made already, but the thing is, they've been saving it for a strategic moment, and right now, when they've got the least amount of development time for the game, and plus Sledgehammer Games is making it and all that, it's like, okay, you got a year of development instead of 3, and Sledgehammer Games is making it, and yeah, so it's like, okay, we're gonna bring back the Modern Warfare 2 maps. These Modern Warfare 2 maps that have already been remastered and already been done, yeah, you guys can use those, So anyway, but when you look at the track record of Call of Duty over the last God knows how long, this is the most important fact that we have to remember, and that is that before the game comes out, they hype the game, they do a really good job at that. Marketing obviously always does a good job at that, yada, 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 right? Business as usual, okay. And here's the other part, which is business as usual. After the game itself is done, right? Once it's been released and once once you get through that time to where people have bought the game already, right? There's little to no communication at all. Gamers will communicate, including the pro players, will communicate with the devs. And, it's like, we hear you, but it's like one year and out the other, and we're just going to keep doing what we've been doing, right? There's been a lot of requests. There's been a lot of things that have been asked over the years from these Call of Duty developers and stuff like that just are simply being ignored, right? Or other things are taking priority, like the Battle Royale, for instance, right? Or Warzone, or whatever the hell you want to call it. So you guys get it? That is the most important thing that we got to remember when it comes to this. Now, XDefiant hasn't even been released yet. No, we've gotten was a couple of betas. We got an open one and a closed one. And guess what? Track history, the track record has basically shown, and history has shown, that these guys have been doing the exact opposite of what the Call of Duty developers have been doing. Wow, I said duty. And what have they been doing? They've been doing nothing but communicating and listening to us. And these guys actually know what they're doing. So you have to remember that these developers, even though they're a smaller group of devs, these guys are people that specifically specialize in all this. Now, there were 3,000 developers that worked on Modern Warfare 2, right? So if that is the case, right, obviously there are a bunch of things that simply just didn't meet expectations and all that other stuff. So it's like, well, that leaves the question, would you rather have a smaller group of devs that actually know what they're doing and can give you the kind of results that a first-person shooter like this needs, or would you rather have a bigger crew that can get your game out faster, but at the same time is not going to be doing a very good job at maintaining it, if not at all, and at the same time the game that you're getting is just not going to be up to par. For instance, one of the things that a lot of people realize, that real places, right, have been literally cut and paste from a real place, and they've been put into the game as a map. You know what I mean? A real life place, cut and paste, and used as a map. And with Call of Duty, making a good map, it's like, okay, it's one thing to be inspired by a place and kind of give it that vibe, but at the same time, you got to understand that there's a little bit more to it than that. It's like it's got to be there's a certain way a Call of Duty map is designed. Okay, so realism is certainly not the way to go. Like I mentioned before, it sounds good on paper, but in execution, it makes for a very boring game. Simple as that. And then, of course, you've got it. Who came up with the swell idea of basically taking away your third perk up until the last minute or two of the game? These ideas don't sound very good, but when you think about XDefiant's ideas, even if you don't agree with all of the ideas that XDefiant has put in together for its first-person shooter, well, because of feedback, because of communication and transparency, and the fact that these guys actually listen and get things done in accordance to our feedback, guess what? The game is only going to continue to get better and better and better. Okay, so if you think about it, we're going to get a solid game on release when it comes to XDefiant, but the game is going to be even more solid with time. And usually with a lot of games nowadays, that's actually not the case, which is kind of shocking. It's like the game sometimes in some ways will get worse, or things will get patched up and they'll get better, but it's like, it was supposed to be the way it was at release, and there's not really anything extra that makes you kind of go for it, and that's pretty much it. And of course, after the first year, if not close to that, the game doesn't get any more attention. It's simple as that. After the year is done with Call of Duty, the game just doesn't get any more attention. They're working on the next one or whatever the deal is. So XDefiant doesn't have that problem. XDefiant basically has it to worry about. That's it. So once XDefiant releases, that is where the attention is, and the developers have already expressed that. Mark Rubin himself has already said it, that they plan on basically supporting this game for years. They don't just want to release it and be like, here, there you go, and then that's it. They want to support the game legitimately. They want the fans to be happy. They want the fans to get the kind of game that they want. They want the pros and the competitive scene to be happy and to grow from there. And they understand this. And let's not forget about the fact that, listen, man, they're not gonna remove skill-based matchmaking from Modern Warfare 3. And even if they did, there's no guarantee that Modern Warfare 3 will be good. There's not. As a matter of fact, there's already signs that the game itself is not going to be very good. And you know why? Because we already know that they're adding in doors and they're adding in things to these maps that we already know. They're already adding things. Now, could we be wrong, and could they be actually like taking a few of the bad things and adding things that belong? Sure, there's definitely a possibility, but I always want to give the developers a benefit of the doubt. But I always got to remember that Activision is always in the back, behind the scenes, and of course, you can't ignore the track record either. So after putting all this stuff together, it's like, okay, which is the safer bet to you? Which is the safer bet to you? And it's obviously XDefiant. But let's just say for a minute here that even if you were to pay XDefiant, right? If XDefiant was the price of a game, like let's say if XDefiant was not $70, let's say it was released for, let's say, $39.99, right? Would you pay for XDefiant? I mean, seriously, that's a legit question to ask. Would you pay for XDefiant? Because think about what you're getting. Go back to that restaurant analogy that I was talking about in the beginning. Would you pay for XDefiant with everything that you know you're going to be getting? And that's the thing. It's like with Call of Duty, we're familiar with the pattern of what we've been getting, or should I say not getting. And with XDefiant, it's like, well, So, and remember, guys, like I said, at the end of the day, man, they're not going to remove skill-based matchmaking. They want player retention as much as possible, so that way they can sell microtransactions. And that's what they want. That's what they're going to do. Now, as far as in closing here, as far as the Microsoft Activision thing goes, the CMA is already pretty much closing at this point. So, I mean, the CMA has either approved it or is very likely to approve, according to very recent news. So the deal is going to be done pretty soon, and then Microsoft is going to take over after that. Now, as far as that's obviously a better deal for the Call of Duty community. You'd rather have Microsoft in charge than the old Activision. And we're going to see what they do. We're going to see what they do. Only time will tell. Microsoft, you never know. Microsoft might actually be like, they might screw the pooch. There's definitely a possibility that they might. But at the same time, you also never know. They might actually make it better. When Call of Duty was in its heyday, when the 360 or whatnot used to get top priority, Call of Duty was doing pretty damn well. But at the same time, the same exact thing happened to PlayStation after PlayStation ended up getting priority. So it was just a business thing more than anything else, but you guys know what I'm getting at. So again, that's a big question mark as far as Call of Duty is concerned. But guys, here's the way I look at it: we've got something solid and dependable with XDefiant, and as a player that enjoys first-person shooters of this kind, I have to say that I actually appreciate that. We've got something that we can actually rely on. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think that's one of the things that the community itself, not just the Call of Duty community, but just the first-person shooter community themselves, as far as arcade first-person shooters go, that's what we've been wanting for a long time. And that's all we want. And we're on the verge of getting it. So at the end of the day, even people that have said that they're going to leave, they're going to come back and they're going to try it one way or another. One way or another, sooner or later, they're going to come back and try it. They're, even if they get disappointed or bored with Modern Warfare 3 or whatever the deal is, or it's not as good as they hoped or whatever the deal is, eventually they're gonna go back and try XDefiant at some point. Even if it's way later, they're gonna do it. And guess what? Chances are they're gonna be happier, and they're only gonna get happier as time goes on because of the transparency and feedback from the developers, as well as the content that is going to be released post-launch. And speaking of which, I think that there might even be a possible, well, I don't know. I don't know. This is me being a little bit too optimistic, but because of the delay, so to speak, you never know. They said that there's going to be a preseason period of 6 weeks. You never know. That 6 weeks might get reduced to 3 weeks, or might just get eliminated completely to it's like, yeah, we're going to release, and season 1 is going to release immediately afterwards. That's being a little bit too optimistic. I know that's very unlikely, but at the same time, you never know. Good things may happen. And then, of course, you've got the past gen console release that is going to be coming out sometime after that as well. So again, good things are happening for all the players out there. And for one, I'm happy about it because I want more players to play XDefiant. I want everybody to enjoy the game and to have fun, and I'm sure the developers do as well. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty much all I got for this one. I know that this video was a lot longer than usual, but I wanted to have a conversation with you. It's been quite a while since we talked about XDefiant and all that kind of good stuff. So I, for one, am still, optimistic about the game. I'm sure there are a ton of you that are guys that are optimistic as well. And for those of you guys that left, that's fine. If you left or if you forgot about the game or whatever the deal is, that's cool. Eventually, at some point, the game is going to get your attention again. You're going to give it a shot, and chances are you're going to be happy with the game. And again, like I said, the game is only going to continue to get better. So anyway, that's pretty much all I got. So I'm going to pass it on to you guys as I leave this commentary. Where do you guys stand on this? Have you guys pretty much forgotten or given up on XDefiant? Do you not care anymore? Are you just playing different games and don't care about first-person shooters anymore? I mean, it's all possible, of course, right? Are you going to give Modern Warfare 3 a shot? Are you going to play both games? Or are you just going to play one game? Whatever the deal is, I'd like to know down below in terms of where you stand on this entire conversation, because it really is interesting. But again, remember guys, we're anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks out from getting XDefiant, and it is an exciting time. If you are a first-person shooter gamer, it is an exciting time if you're if you are a gamer that enjoys these types of games. And at the same time, it is gaming season, so remember guys, regardless of how you see it, remember, it is a video game at the end of the day. I know we're passionate about it. I mean, hell, I made a YouTube channel simply because of a video game, right? So I get it. I understand it. I totally agree with it. However, at the end of the day, it is a video game, and there are other games out there that we can go and play. There are other things out there that we can enjoy doing, like, going outside and getting some fresh air is a beautiful thing. It is good for you. It's going to make you feel good physically, mentally, and everything else. Go have fun out there with the girl or whatnot. And if you're a girl, go out there and have fun with guys or whatever it is. And if you're married, then ask your wife for permission. I'm just kidding. Don't do that. But you guys get the point. There's so many things you can do. So many things you can do. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary, and let me know where you guys stand on this. And I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.